from New York. It's the conclusion of Predictions Week, and we have a surprise. Well, I'll be honest with you, we've done similar stuff before, but this one is extra special.
Wow, I don't even know what it is.
No, nobody does. Unless you're a zoologist, I wouldn't trust your opinion on it.
Getting live animals? Wow.
Nobody knows. Just stay tuned. A falcon, perhaps?
Wow. Not a falcon.
A bear.
Definitely not
a bear. Bears are
did,
indigenous to New York State.
I did think about getting a bear in studio, and then I realized I'd be terrified. We start with Brandon Aiyuk's deal. He's back. Appreciate the content, to be honest with you. We're in the dog days of summer. You were going to you were going to Patriots. You dissed the Patriots. You're headed to the Steelers. That gave us a day. The Browns. Nope. You're just back on the 49ers. 4 years, $120 million deal. Here's the newest, highest-paid wide receivers list. Justin Jefferson still there in the #1 spot, which I like. CD, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Aiyuk.
Pretty good.
And Tyreek, all at 30. So, Brew, you were a little bit nervous yesterday.
Yeah.
Is your faith restored?
To a large degree. I do feel better about the Niners, obviously, than I felt 24 hours ago. Now, I thought Aiyuk would play for them, or at least be suited up and get paid.
Okay.
But I thought he might have a back injury, a la Jalen Ramsey. You know what I mean? Where he's not playing, but he's getting paid. Or I thought he plays, but he's not in the right space mentally. Even though his best thing would be to go out there and play great, I just wondered, is he too shaken up by not getting the deal that he's not going to be as good as he could be? So, yeah, he's Purdy's favorite receiver, obviously. I think he's their best receiver at this point. He opens things up because he's their deep threat for all this stuff underneath. Now you got to get Trent Williams done. And I have no doubt that they're going to get Trent Williams done. They got to. Here's why I say that. Even though we really haven't seen much reporting on it other than that they're not that close. They got to.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, they have no choice. Why pay Aiyuk if you're not bringing back Trent Williams pronto? Because Trent Williams, we all agreed, was more important than Aiyuk.
100%.
So you have to get this done. You're clearly all in for this year because Debo's probably gone now next year.
Right. Well, and Trent, though, might be actually more dug in than Aiyuk. That's the only.
I think he is, but I think they're going to
just figure it out. The thing with Trent that's weird is I don't think he necessarily needs a raise per se. I think he needs the money guaranteed. And so we talked about it yesterday. They have 7 guys making $20+ million against the cap next season, which is not sustainable. It's not sustainable even just for next season, which is why, to Brew's point, this does look like now Debo, this is likely his last year in San Francisco. Not they would cut him. He'd be a valuable trade piece for someone to pick up. And I think Trent understood his $37 million cap hit that's not guaranteed at all would be an easy place for them to clean up their books, and he wants to protect himself against that. Not because he's not going to be a great player, but because at 36 years old, if he gets injured, that money's not going to be out there. So I do think Trent will be back in the fold at some point. I don't know that he'll be back in the fold for week 1. A man who has skipped a full season, standing on principle, $100 million in earnings ago, I'm not ready to say there's no chance he, a la Chris Jones, misses a week. And remember, Chris, when he missed his week, didn't even get the huge new contract. He missed his week, got a slight bump, and then got the contract this offseason.
Pause there for a second. Chris Jones was watching Chiefs-Lions.
Yeah.
Lions won.
Yeah.
And it felt a little bit like Chris Jones, I don't think, would ever root against the Chiefs. But I think when they had a conversation with the agents, like, you know what? Not the worst thing for us.
Sure.
Right.
If the 49ers blast the Jets.
Oh, but I don't see. I think without Trent Williams against that defense, even though I don't think the Jets D-line without Reddick is their strength, I don't think it's bad, obviously. I think their back end of their defense is better. I don't think Purdy will look like the Purdy you guys have become accustomed to. If Trent Williams is not there,
he'll be running for his life.
I would think so. So but I think in large part I agree with Brew in that Aiyuk's back. Trent's going to be back at some point. The Niners should be in really good position once again. So to me, my answer is less about my faith being restored or not, because, yeah, I think they're going to be in really good shape this year, and more that I don't think there is a single team in the league, Brew, more SBOB this season than these Niners.
Correct.
Because they have been banged. Oh, I'm glad you agree. I didn't know if you would or not.
Because
the
next
Chiefs
year they're
are in a
going to be
weird
different.
category because of their success.
Yeah.
But
if they don't win
if they don't win it, no one's going to be like, how could you not
Right.
three-peat? Like, it's just a weird spot. The Niners have been banging on the door, and they are not going to have this level of talent around again anytime soon. And the only way they will moving forward, by the way, is if they crush multiple drafts. Because what has afforded them this level of talent is not paying a quarterback the last few years. And that, while Purdy's new contract isn't going to instantly kick in from $1 million to $60, it's not going to be $1 million anymore, assuming he plays well this year and they extend him. And the Kittle's age, Trent Williams' age, McCaffrey's not his age as much as the age of the position. Exactly. Like, this is their moment. They probably should have won a Super Bowl already.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be better positioned than they are right now, especially now that Aiyuk's back.
Now, you, if I remember correctly, did not pick them to make the playoffs.
No, I have them in the playoffs, not winning their division.
Okay.
I have the Rams winning the division.
The notion they're not going to make the playoffs, I think, is crazy.
I think they have too much talent.
Yeah, they're making the playoffs.
It would be shocking to me if a team who offensively has a top two at the following positions in the league: tight end, left tackle, running back, fullback, wide receiver core. That's just, you know what I mean? Which is, like, if that team, and by the way, nobody looks at the Niners defense like they stink. Like, no, they're perennially good to very good.
I'll just be devil's advocate. Because,
sure.
I like Warren Sharp's book that I downloaded. I finally found it in my Google Doc.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's why I'm a hard copy guy.
I tried to get it.
Nice,
I thought I was getting it.
Hard copy guy.
I don't know.
Would have been perfect reading.
I was trying to print it from the office. I felt guilty.
No, it's 500 pages.
Using so much toner. In any event, San Francisco 49ers have the worst rest edge for the 2024 season. 21 fewer days rest than their opponents.
Who had the worst last year? Do you remember?
So, glass half full. The 49ers had the worst last year.
No, the Chiefs had the worst last year.
I think the 49ers.
The Chiefs, and I know the Chiefs had a terrible rest edge.
49ers also did.
Okay, we're really bad.
And then glass half empty. It's like back-to-back years.
Yeah.
So if we talk about the 49ers not having Trent Williams, Purdy's not going to be the same. We're CMC calf away from Purdy not looking the same. Do we feel like the 49ers are so, not necessarily top-heavy, it's just a sprained ankle and a toe here or there, and all of a sudden the house of cards comes down?
I think most teams are, if the wrong person gets hurt, they're in trouble. Outside of
But
Kansas
the Niners
City,
have, would you agree, Brew, and I don't want to we're going to have, 6 months to go to war about Brock Purdy. So I'm not trying to get into that right now. We talked the other day about how, none of these quarterbacks, if they don't have weapons, except for Mahomes, and Mahomes, to your point, has had Kelsey the whole time, can succeed at a high level. One of the great things about the Niners is they have so many weapons compared to the rest of the league that they can lose, I think, anyone on the offense other than Trent Williams for a month, and they still go into a game with plenty of weapon options.
And besides Purdy, too, I would imagine.
Oh, okay, yeah. Every team, the quarterback. That's why I said weapons. Okay. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if the Bengals lose, I know he's not even there right now, but Jamar Chase, then all of a sudden you're looking at the team like, man, they have like one viable, real scary weapon. The Eagles, and I'm talking about teams with good options. The Eagles, now that they have Saquon, you can argue they have three legitimate weapons. But the Niners, if Kittle goes down, it's like, well, now we're just down to the best running back, two top-paid receivers, and I know we don't talk about Juszczyk, but the best, the best fullback in the league, and so
I think the Eagles' weapons are right there with the.
Okay, so sure, so maybe those are the two teams
better. Or right there, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert at the tight end, and obviously Saquon. So
believing in the Eagles.
You love, because Saquon's Christian McCaffrey. I forgot.
That's
true.
Yeah.
Watch.
Okay.
Watch.
Dak's deal, not done.
Not getting done.
Well, no one knows that. Even though I think it will, Nick doesn't think it's going to be done. Even Dak doesn't necessarily agree with me.
Well, you can ask the question because I know
do you think it's his last year? But you've been kind of saying this.
Well, I want to be very clear. I am not 100% confident this is his last year in Dallas. Where I am fully confident is any contract he signs is going to happen after the year, which is either maybe the Cowboys will end up, being at the top bidder, or maybe Dak will, a year from now look around and be like, the Giants, that turf and that, not interested. So I am not guaranteeing, or whatever that's worth, that Dak's done in Dallas after this year. What I feel fully confident in is what he seems to be fully confident in, which is they're not meeting my price in the next week. He says, it says a lot if it is or if it isn't. Meaning, you don't value me the way I feel I should be valued. Right. Which, by the way, for as much criticism as I give Dallas for how they do business, for the noise, as Brew talks about, if I were running Dallas, I wouldn't want to make Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in football either. I think he's good. I don't think he's good enough to carry you to a Super Bowl with those weapons that you would, the team that you would have to kind of tear down at that price point. So I don't blame them for not wanting to pay Dak, 4 years, $250 million. I blame them for being in the position where if they don't want to pay him that, they're going to get nothing for him because they can't trade him, they can't tag him. I blame them for painting themselves into this corner. I don't blame them for saying, we don't want to make the 9th best quarterback in the league the highest paid by a mile. I don't blame them for that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's say they have, their typical year, win 10, 11 games, lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. Are you paying him?
No, I would.
You just let him walk.
Yeah, again, it's a terrible spot to be in because you should, in that spot, then trade him for a first-round pick and something else. They've put themselves in a position where they can't. I know at some point it kind of feels like I'm in reruns on this. There's a lot of ways we've seen teams win a Super Bowl. The mid-level, above-average quarterback like he's great, that's the one we don't see. We've seen bad quarterbacks win Super Bowls. We've seen young quarterbacks win Super Bowls. We've seen great quarterbacks at all ranges of the salary scale win Super Bowls. He's pretty good, and he's paid like he's the best. That has never worked in the salary cap era. There are a lot of people
that would say Matthew Stafford, and I know everybody loves his talent and all that, but there are a lot of people that would say him coming from Detroit was about what Dak Prescott is now. Right? He had, like you said, yesterday, he made one Pro Bowl. He obviously never won even one playoff game, and they won the
listen,
Super Bowl.
That, Brew, and then I'll let you go. That is a very fair retort that I'm probably biased on because I hold Stafford in such high regard. You know what I mean? But you're right as far as his resume. He didn't have the playoff success. Yeah. He had good, gaudy numbers. But I just hold Stafford's talent and ability in a different tier than Dak Prescott.
I thought this interview with Dak was very telling. And I thought one thing it did, it said to me, he does want to be a Cowboy. Like, if everything's equal, beyond if everything's equal, he wants to stay with the Cowboys. And I say that for two reasons. One, when he was asked, is it important you get a deal done before the season, he had a long pause. He did not look to me like a guy that was like, I'm good. Like, if I don't get my money now, I'm getting it next season, next summer, and I might be in another team, but I am good. He looked like a guy that is frustrated and bothered that it hasn't gotten done.
Can I ask a silly, kind of elementary question? Do you think his feelings are hurt?
Yeah, it looked a little to me like his feeling, like he is hurt. Because when he answered, it says a lot about how you feel. And I do think you may be right, Nick, in that maybe they're offering him 53, maybe even 55, or maybe it's lower than that. But he's not feeling good about the offer that they're making to him. And I really feel strong. I'm more with Wilds that I do think this still has a really good chance of getting done because it looks like if they offer him 58 or maybe it'll be 60. It has to be 60. But if they offer him that before the season, I think he'll take it. He didn't look to me like a guy that's like, I'm good either way. I'm getting paid next year, and if I have to go to Pittsburgh or the Giants to do it, I'm fine. He looked like he's bothered and hurt that they haven't valued him the way he thinks they should.
What I don't understand about the optimism that this is going to get done is I know that Jerry likes to stay in the news. I get all of that. But if they were going to offer, let's say that Todd Francis told them it's going to take 60. 60 is the number. If they were going to offer that, is there any explanation for, we are now 7 days away, 6 days away from the start of the season, for them not having done it by now? It's clearly wearing on the team. It's wearing on the owner who makes the decision. Like, both of these guys' quotes are getting hotter and hotter. Jerry's dropping a half dozen F-bombs to Clarence Hill. Shout out to Clarence for his new website. Good luck to him on it. Dak started 3 weeks ago with no, I'm going to say it. And, remember when he was at the press conference and paused and was like, you know what, I'm going to say it. A lot of great quarterbacks have had to move on. I'm paraphrasing. Like, it's ratcheting up. If they always were going to pay it, Wilds, then why haven't they done it?
Because they need to ratchet up a little bit.
Just for this?
Just for this. It's got to get a little bit of like, oh, we made it. Now we're here. We're ratcheted. There's tension. There's a little bit of frustration. Good news. This was all Jerry's kind of, the CD thing just played out like that as well.
They just did CD. That's what they did with Ezekiel Elliott. It's a little different, obviously, Emmitt Smith way back, but they did play 2 games without him and saw they had to have him. But, yeah, this is what they do. Right or wrong, and it's wrong, I think, but this is what they do.
Can I pitch you something that what you said reminded me, Brew, about like his feelings are hurt and he wants to be with the Cowboys? Because you always talk about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins bet on himself, got this huge deal from the Vikings. Then he did it again. Now he's in the Falcons. Man, you're going to look at Kirk Cousins' career when it ends and be like, hey, Kirk Cousins, right? Remember, he was in Washington, and then he was with the Vikings, and now he's with Atlanta.
Correct.
And it's just going to be like, yeah,
Right.
Hey, good job. You're in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think, and he might win the money contest, but that's different than being the face of the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's the exact opposite. It's a little bit like what we talk about, like Paul George. Bouncing around, like, man, if you just stayed like Reggie Miller in one spot, you could be an icon.
So I agree with that to an extent, except the face of the Dallas Cowboys cuts it both ways. Like, who I think is one of the most unfairly maligned quarterbacks of the last 20 years? Tony Romo.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to argue about Tony right now, but I thought Tony was better than he was given credit for because his failures were so magnified because he was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. Like, nobody cares that Phillip Rivers made one conference championship game ever, was on multiple 12 or 13 win teams that went one and done in the playoffs.
But now he's a guy still. He's still relevant. Phillip Rivers literally coaching high school.
Yeah, but, okay, well, yes, you do have better post-career broadcast opportunities as the Cowboys quarterback. I don't know that Dak's into that. Point I'm making is being the Cowboys quarterback, if you're Troy, is amazing. If you're not that, it might actually be worse than Dak and Kirk Cousins, playoff success, regular season success, all of it is almost identical. We don't talk about Kirk Cousins in the same negative tones, nor the positive tones as Dak. And so that you know what I mean? So I just think it cuts in both directions.
Dak Prescott is a celebrity. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Why? Because he's the Cowboys quarterback. If he was doing this, now last year he did have, he's had some good seasons, obviously. Last year was his best in the MVP conversation. But before that, he was a celebrity because he was the Cowboys quarterback. If he were somewhere else doing the same thing, he'd be a good quarterback, make a couple Pro Bowls, but we wouldn't talk about him in a positive this way.
But the question is, and I don't know Dak personally. I forget some stand-up comedians, like, what's better than being rich and famous? Being rich. Like the idea that like the fame is not, for some people, you'd rather be Matt Ryan. Like, and I know Matt Ryan made a Super Bowl and went won a league MVP, but like everybody knows you're good. Nobody has hot takes about you. You go about your business, you collect your money, and so I don't know Dak well enough, but it's absolutely on the board that Dak's like, okay, my fame cup is as full as it's going to get. Sure.
In that case, maybe you go somewhere else then.
Yes.
To a real football franchise, not a soap opera. I mean, I'm just saying, really.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.